And welcome back to Capitol Tonight. For a second straight day, the jurors in the John Haggerty trial deliberated, and they could not reach a verdict. Haggerty is accused of taking more than $1 million from Mayor Michael Bloomberg to run a ballot security operation and allegedly instead pocketed much of the cash. Today, jurors asked a very simple question that actually gets to the heart of this whole case. Before deliberating, they asked the judge for clarification of who the aggrieved party is here, the victim, in other words, and the judge made it quite clear, the billionaire Mayor Michael Bloomberg. But the fact that the jurors had to ask that question suggests that perhaps the defense made some headway. Joining me now to break this down is election lawyer Jerry Goldfeder. Jerry, it is good to see you as always.
Good to see you again.
So is that right? I mean, Dennis Vacco, who of course is heading up the defense here, said they must have been listening because this is the heart of my case. So it bodes well for him, it seems, no?
We don't know. We never know what a jury is thinking. We never know how a jury is going to reach its conclusion. Dennis Vacco did a great job, and so did the district attorney. They both made their presentations, they presented their narratives, and we have two competing narratives about what John Haggerty is alleged to have done.
Right.
Look, the fact is, and it's undisputed, the mayor gave over $1 million to the Independence Party for Mr. Haggerty to have to start a ballot security program.
Well, wait, hold on. Because this is a key piece, and I think it might actually be an issue going forward. The money was given to the Independence Party, right? The Independence Party then decided what to do with it. So the question here is, did the donor say to the receiver, you should use this money to give it to John Haggerty to provide ballot security? That is not appropriate, right? I give money to you as a candidate. I don't get to tell you what to do with it.
Well, that's what's at issue here before the jury.
Right.
There are two ways of looking at this, obviously. The mayor gives $1 million to the Independence Party so that Mr. Haggerty could set up an election protection program. Does the mayor lose control of that $1 million once he gives it to the Independence Party as a legal matter? Did he have an arrangement with Mr. Haggerty such that even though he gave him the money through the Independence Party, he still relied on Mr. Haggerty's alleged promises to set up this program? Mm-hmm. The jury is going to make that decision. The jury is going to decide whether or not, in this case, Mayor Bloomberg was a victim of, in that he didn't get what he was promised.
Right.
There is a legal issue as to whether or not he loses control over the money to the Independence Party. But the jury has to assess that. The jury has to take that into account and use that when it makes its determination whether or not the district attorney proved beyond a reasonable doubt that grand larceny or money laundering was committed here.
So, Jerry, if in fact the jury says, yes, that is what happened, Mike Bloomberg was the victim, he's worth billions, but he was bilked out of this million because he didn't get what he was supposed to get through the conduit of the Independence Party. What does that mean writ large going forward for everyone else who deals with campaign finance in this state?
Well, there are a lot of lessons for this, from this trial. Whether Mr. Haggerty is acquitted or convicted, there are many lessons. Number one, you always want to have contracts. Written contracts. I always advise my clients.
That seems like, you know, business 101 though, but all right,
It is, but as Mayor Bloomberg testified, he doesn't always have written contracts. So the first lesson here for election lawyers to tell their candidates and for candidates to learn is that have a contract. Have a written contract with your consultant, with your lawyer, with your person who does your literature, and so on. So everybody has they're on the same page, if you will, with regard to what they have to do, what the obligations are, what their expectations are.
Jerry, unless, of course, you don't have a contract because you want your money to be fungible, because you would like things to be gray, so you can give money to somebody that, you know, okay, so I'm giving you ballot security money, you'll deal with it, you'll decide, and you can pocket the rest. I mean, isn't that what is the allegedly on the other side going on here? That's what Vacco and company says happened.
Well, that's what Vacco and Company says happened, and that's not what the district attorney said.
Right. Two different sides. Right.
The question is how the jury takes that in.
Of course.
They listened to the testimony. They looked at the witnesses. They have many documents to evaluate, and they're in the middle of trying to figure out, having been told what the law is, they're trying to figure out how the facts, as presented in competing ways, really what their conclusions are. And they haven't done so yet after 2 days. I expect that they'll reach a conclusion soon, but one never knows what goes on in a jury deliberation room and why they reach the conclusion that they do.
Okay, so lesson 2 then. What's lesson 2? Lesson 1 is have a contract.
Lesson 2 is that the public is now much more aware about election protection / ballot security. I've done election protection for many, many years. I've developed many programs for election protection for my candidates, and I've trained thousands of lawyers and other volunteers here in New York, in Ohio, in Pennsylvania. And because of this case, the public is much more aware of this issue. So they will be scrutinizing whether candidates are really involved in training poll watchers to help voters vote if they're eligible to do so, or to suppress the vote.
Right.
I think the public is in a much better position to scrutinize whether or not it's an affirmative, positive election protection program, or it's really something more nefarious to try to suppress the votes. In New York City, we really have not had very much voter suppression that I'm aware of at all. We've had some attempts at voter suppression in some parts of the state. We've had it in New Jersey and other parts of the country. As a general proposition, election protection is a good thing.
So, Jerry, I don't want to cut you off. I'm so sorry, but unfortunately we're almost out of time. I do want to ask you this quick question, though. As a result of this case, regardless of who wins, Hagerty or Mayor Bloomberg, will there be a result that you can no longer give $1 million, $2 million if you have it, to a party in what is known as its housekeeping account? That's not going to change, is it? Not here.
Well, of course, that's up to the legislature. The housekeeping rules are such that I believe that political parties can spend that money pretty much as they see fit, as long as it's for the purpose of promoting the party, not for a particular candidate. What might occur as a result of this case is maybe we'll change the disclosure timetable so that political parties, as well as candidates, as well as political action committees, have to file their disclosure reports of contributions and expenditures all at pretty much the same time before an election, so that at least everybody who's voting in an election knows who's given money to candidates as well as political parties, and how they've spent their money. That could be a positive result if the legislature chooses to do so as a result of this trial, irrespective of the outcome.
Well, Jerry Goldfeder, I want to thank you very much for being here with us. This is a very fascinating case, actually, and it does have some widespread implications. So we will be seeking to figure out what those are if the jury ever makes a decision, assuming that they do soon, hopefully. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.